They told everyone I'd moved on, that I was fine, that I'd let it all go. But when that lawyer read the real heir's name out loud in that conference room, their smiles gone just like that. I walked in and I took it all back. My name is Emma. I'm 34 years old. And this is the story of how I lost everything. And then reclaimed it in a way my family never saw coming. But before we get to that moment, the one where everything changed, I need to take you back. Because you need to understand how a family can erase you while you're still breathing, how they can convince themselves you don't exist. And how, for years I believed them. If you've ever felt like the outsider in your own family, hit that subscribe button. Because I promise you, by the end of this story, you'll understand why sometimes silence is the most powerful weapon you'll ever have. Let me take you back to where it started. To the first time I realized I wasn't really their daughter. I was just there. I was 8 years old. It was my birthday. The cake was chocolate, my favourite, or so I thought. But when Mum cut it, she gave me the smallest slice and handed Madison, my older sister, the corner piece with all the frosting roses. Madison needs the energy for her piano recital tomorrow, Mum said, not even looking at me. That same day, they gave Madison a brand new bike, shiny purple with streamers on the handlebars and a bell that actually worked. For me, a used colouring book. Half the pages already filled in. You're still young, honey. You don't need expensive things yet, Dad said, patting my head like I was a puppy. But that year, they'd also bought Madison a laptop to prepare for her future. She was 12. I told myself it was okay, that next year would be different, that maybe they just forgot. But next year came, and the year after that, and the pattern never changed. Madison got, I waited, Madison was celebrated, I was present. Then came the moment that should have changed everything. I was 16, Madison was 20. I'd just gotten my acceptance letter from Stanford, full scholarship, full ride, something Madison hadn't managed to do despite 3 years of expensive SAT tutors and college prep consultants that cost more than a used car. I ran home, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. I burst through the front door, waving that acceptance letter like it was a golden ticket. I got in! Stanford accepted me. Full scholarship. Dad looked up from his newspaper, glanced at the letter, nodded once. That's good, Emma, but Madison needs money for her nail salon startup. You can handle the other expenses yourself, right? You've always been more independent. Mum was setting the table. She didn't even turn around. You're so lucky, Emma. You've always been the self-sufficient one. Madison needs more support. I stood there in the doorway, that acceptance letter trembling in my hands. The words on the page started to blur. That night, I sat on my bed, staring at that letter until the words stopped making sense. I didn't cry. I couldn't. I just felt numb. I just saw like someone had scooped out everything inside me and left just a shell. That's when I realized I was never going to be enough. Because they didn't want me to be enough. They needed me to be less. So Madison could be more. But the real breaking point? That came when I was 22. My grandmother passed away. Grandma Rose, the only person in the family who ever really saw me, who remembered my birthday without being reminded, who asked about my dreams, and actually listened to the answers. At the funeral, I couldn't stop crying. Not just because she was gone, but because I knew she was the last person who would ever really love me. After the burial, after everyone had eaten the sad little sandwiches and talked about what a wonderful woman she'd been, the lawyer read her will. She'd left everything split equally between Madison and me, her house, her savings, her jewellery, 50-50. I felt something crack open inside my chest. Even in death, Grandma Rose saw me. But 3 days later, Mum pulled me aside in the kitchen. She had that look, the one that meant she was about to ask me to give up something else. Emma, honey? Grandma didn't know Madison was struggling financially. She didn't know about the salon debts, the credit cards. You have your job now, you're doing fine, but Madison, she really needs this. I stared at Mom, waiting for something, anything that would tell me she was joking, that she couldn't possibly be asking me to give away the only inheritance I'd ever receive from the only person who'd ever truly loved me. What are you asking me to do? Just let Madison have your share. You don't need it. And honestly, honey, do you really want to tear this family apart right now, at a time like this? There it was, the weapon they always used. Family, like it was some sacred thing I was threatening just by existing, just by wanting what was mine. I looked at Mum's face, searched for something, a flicker of guilt, a moment of hesitation, any sign that she understood what she was asking. Nothing. Dad appeared in the doorway. Your mother's right, Emma. Madison's in real trouble. You've always been the strong one, the one who doesn't need help. And that's when I understood. They'd turned my independence into a weapon against me. Because I'd learned to survive without them, they decided I didn't deserve anything from them. I signed the papers, all of them. Gave Madison everything Grandma Rose had left me. Madison hugged me at the lawyer's office, tears in her eyes. You're the best sister ever, Em. I'll never forget this. But her eyes were already looking past me, to the cheque, to the house keys, to everything that should have been half mine. That was the first time I truly saw it. I wasn't a daughter in this family. I wasn't even a sister. I was a resource, an ATM that never ran out. A well they could keep drawing from without ever having to give anything back. And the worst part, I kept letting them. Because somewhere deep inside, I still hoped. I still believed that if I just gave enough, sacrificed enough, proved my love enough, they'd finally see me. They never did. Fast forward 12 years. I'm 34 now, director of marketing at a tech company in San Francisco, 6-figure salary. Beautiful apartment in Nob Hill with a view of the bay. I built a life. A good one, independent, successful. Everything they always said I was, but to my family, I was still invisible. Let me show you what I mean. 2 years ago, Madison got married. Again. Her first marriage lasted 8 months before she filed for divorce, claiming her husband didn't support her dreams. The divorce settlement gave her the car, half his savings, and his grandmother's engagement ring, which she immediately sold. Now she was marrying husband number 2. Some guy named Derek who managed a car dealership and had the personality of lukewarm oatmeal. The wedding invitations went out. I watched on Facebook as distant cousins, Madison's hairdresser, people she hadn't spoken to since middle school, all posted pictures of their invitations, thick cream cardstock with gold lettering. Fancy. Mine never came. I called Mom. Hey, I haven't gotten my invitation yet. Is there a new address you have for me? Oh, honey. That tone. the one that meant she was about to gaslight me into accepting something unacceptable. Madison wanted to keep it intimate, small, just close family. I am close family. I'm her sister. Well, yes, but you know how it is. Limited space. The venue can only hold so many people. She had to make some hard choices. How many people are going? Silence. Mum, how many people? I don't know the exact number, Emma. Don't make this difficult. 2 weeks later, Facebook exploded with wedding photos. I counted 187 people in the ceremony photos alone, including Madison's dentist, and a girl she used to babysit, and her ex-boyfriend's mother. I wasn't there. I sat in my apartment that night, take-out Thai, food, getting cold, on the counter, scrolling through hundreds of photos of a wedding I wasn't invited to, my sister, my only sibling, and I wasn't even worth a seat in the back row. But that wasn't the worst of it. The worst came 10 months ago. Dad had a heart attack, mild but scary enough to land him in the ICU for observation. I found out about it on Facebook. Madison posted at 11 p.m, "Please pray for Dad. He's in the hospital. Scariest night of my life." I saw it at midnight when I was getting ready for bed. My heart dropped into my stomach. I threw on jeans and a sweater, grabbed my keys, and drove the 43 minutes to El Camino Hospital in Mountain View, breaking probably 6 traffic laws on the way. I ran into the ICU wing, breathless, and stopped at the nurse's station. "I'm here to see Richard Chen. He was admitted tonight. Heart attack." The nurse checked her computer. "Are you family?" "I'm his daughter, Emma Chen." She scrolled, frowned. "I'm sorry, but you're not on his visitor list. Only immediate family is allowed in the ICU, and he only listed Madison Chen." The floor tilted under my feet. "I am immediate family. I'm his daughter." "Mum, I can only go by what's in the system. You're not listed. I'm sorry." I sat in the hallway for 6 hours, on those hard plastic chairs bolted to the wall, under fluorescent lights that buzzed like angry wasps, drinking terrible coffee from a vending machine. At 6 a.m, Madison came out, saw me, actually jumped like I'd scared her. "Emma, what are you doing here? What do you think I'm doing here? Dad's in the hospital." "Oh." She looked uncomfortable, shifted her purse from one shoulder to the other. "Yeah, but, it's pretty crowded in there. Dad doesn't want too many people." "I've been here for 6 hours. I haven't seen anyone else leave." "Well, Mum's in there, and Derek came for a bit. It's just, you know how Dad gets when he's overwhelmed." I stood up, looked her directly in the eyes. "Did Dad say he didn't want me here? Or did you just not tell him I was here at all?" Madison looked away. That told me everything. "Look, this isn't personal. It's just complicated, and it's just complicated. You know how family stuff is." She walked away, left me standing in that hallway, the smell of antiseptic and old coffee making me nauseous. Dad was discharged 2 days later, never called me, never texted. Not even a thanks for caring message. It was like I didn't exist. And that's when something inside me finally broke. Not broke like shattered, broke like a lock clicking open, like chains falling away. I stopped calling, stopped texting, stopped sending birthday cards or holiday gifts, stopped checking Facebook for updates on their lives. I just stopped. And you know what happened? Nothing. 6 months went by. Not a single person in my family noticed I was gone. Not one, "Hey, we haven't heard from you" text. Not one, "Is everything okay?" call. My birthday came and went. Silence. Thanksgiving happened without me. I saw the photos on Facebook, the whole family gathered around Mum's dining room table, looking happy and complete. Nobody asked where I was. Nobody seemed to notice an empty chair. Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day, nothing. It was like I'd evaporated, and their lives just continued, perfectly fine without me. I told myself I was okay with it, that I'd moved on, that I was healing, building my own life, choosing myself for once. But late at night, in that beautiful apartment with the bay view, I'd lie awake and wonder, how do you become invisible to the people who are supposed to love you most? What did I do that was so terrible that my own family could erase me and never look back? I didn't have an answer, but I was about to get one. 1 month ago, everything changed. My phone rang. Unknown number. Normally I don't answer those, but something made me pick up. Hello? Ms. Chen? Ms. Emma Chen? Yes. This is Thomas Harrington. I'm an estate attorney with Morrison and Associates. I represent your parents, Richard and Susan Chen. My heart stopped, just completely stopped. Did something happen? Are they okay? They're fine. I'm calling because they're updating their estate plan, their will, and you're listed as a beneficiary on their original documents from 2010. I'm required by law to inform you of any changes. I sat down hard on my couch. What changes? Perhaps we should meet in person. Are you available tomorrow? There's a cafe near my office. The Daily Grind on California Street. Say 3 p.m.? Yes, okay. Perfect. I'll see you then, Ms. Chen. He hung up. I sat there, phone still pressed to my ear, mind racing. Why would their lawyer call me? Why would he want to meet in person? Why couldn't he just tell me over the phone? That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, imagining 100 different scenarios, none of them good. The next day, I left work early, told my boss I had a doctor's appointment, took the bus to California Street and walked into the Daily Grind at 2:55 p.m. Thomas Harrington was already there, mid-50s, salt and pepper hair, expensive suit but kind eyes. He stood when he saw me, extended his hand. Ms. Chen, thank you for coming. We sat. He ordered a black coffee. I couldn't imagine eating or drinking anything. My stomach was a knot of anxiety. I'll get straight to it, he said, pulling out a folder. Your parents recently came to my office to draft a new will. In this new version, they're transferring all assets. Their home in Palo Alto, their retirement accounts, their business shares, everything, to your sister Madison. The cafe noise faded to white static. I heard his words, but they didn't make sense, like he was speaking a different language. All of it? Everything. The house is worth approximately $3.2 million. Retirement accounts total around $850,000. Business shares in Chen and Associates, that's your father's consulting firm, valued at $1.5 million. Savings and investments, another $420,000. It comes to just under $6 million. I couldn't breathe. And I get nothing? That's what they're requesting, yes. Why are you telling me this? Mr. Harrington leaned back in his chair, studying me. Because there's a problem. Under California law, probate code, section 213 and 10, specifically, when someone significantly changes a will, all previously named beneficiaries must be formally notified in writing. They must be given the opportunity to review the changes and, if they choose, contest them. Did they notify me? No. So what does that mean? It means the new will is invalid. The original will from 2010, which splits everything equally between you and Madison, that's the legally binding document. I stared at him. Why are you telling me this? Couldn't you just process their new will anyway? Mr. Harrington smiled. It wasn't a happy smile, it was tired, sad. I've been a probate attorney for 32 years, Ms. Chen, and I'm sick of watching parents play favourites. Sick of watching them erase one child to elevate another. Your parents told me you were legally dead to them, that you'd abandoned the family, that Madison was their only real daughter. My throat closed up. Hearing those words I'd suspected but never confirmed, felt like being stabbed. They said that? Verbatim. And when I asked what you'd done to deserve being cut out entirely, you know what they told me? They said you stopped trying, that you gave up on the family, that you were too independent to care about them anymore. A laugh bubbled up from somewhere dark inside me. Not a real laugh, something bitter and sharp. I stopped trying because they stopped seeing me. I gave up because there was nothing left to fight for. I believe you, and that's why I'm here. You have the right to challenge this will. You have the right to claim what's legally yours. And I'll represent you pro bono if you choose to do so. I looked out the window, watched people walking by. Normal people with normal families who probably didn't have to fight for their right to exist in their parents' hearts. What would that involve? There's a will reading scheduled for March 15th. 2 weeks from today, your parents, Madison, and other family members will be there. If you attend, I'll present the original will. I'll explain the legal issues with their new version. And I'll make it clear that you have not waived your rights. They don't know you called me. No, they think this is a done deal. They think you're out of their lives for good. I thought about walking into that room, seeing their faces, watching their smug certainty crumble. For years, I'd been invisible, the forgotten daughter, the one who didn't matter. But I mattered to the law, and I mattered to myself. I'll be there, Mr. Harrington nodded. Good, I'll send you the details. We stood, shook hands. And as I walked out of that cafe into the San Francisco afternoon, something shifted inside me. For the first time in 34 years, I wasn't waiting for my family to see me. I was going to make them see me. 2 weeks later, March 15th arrived. I woke up at 6 a.m., even though the will reading wasn't until 2 p.m. Couldn't sleep. My mind kept running through scenarios, conversations, confrontations. I chose my outfit carefully: black pantsuit, white blouse, simple gold earrings, hair pulled back in a neat bun. No heavy makeup. I wanted to look professional, calm, like someone who couldn't be dismissed or ignored, like someone who mattered. I left my apartment at 1 p.m. The law offices of Morrison & Associates were downtown, only a 20-minute drive. But I wanted to be early, needed to be early. I parked 2 blocks away at 1:35 p.m., sat in my car, breathed. In my head, I ran through Mr. Harrington's instructions. Don't say anything when you first arrive. Let me handle the legal aspects. Just be present. Your presence alone will be enough. At 1:55 p.m, I got out of the car, walked those 2 blocks, took the elevator to the 7th floor. The frosted glass doors of Morrison & Associates were straight ahead. Through them, I could see the conference room, see my family, Dad, Mom, Madison, Madison's husband, Derek, and Aunt Laura, Mom's sister, who'd never liked me, always whispering about how I was difficult and ungrateful. They were laughing, actually laughing. Madison was holding a champagne flute. Who brings champagne to a will reading? And gesturing with her free hand, telling some story. Mum was smiling, that proud mum smile she only ever gave Madison. Dad was nodding along. They looked happy, relieved, like this was a celebration, the celebration of my erasure. I stood outside those glass doors for 30 seconds, just watching them. These people who shared my DNA but had never shared their love. These people who'd convinced themselves I didn't matter. Mr. Harrington appeared in the hallway, saw me, gave me a small, encouraging nod. He turned and walked into the conference room. I heard his voice muffled through the glass. "Everyone's here, let's begin." Madison. Perfect. I'm so ready to... That's when I pushed open the door and walked in. The room went silent. Completely, absolutely silent. Madison's champagne flute stopped halfway to her mouth. Her eyes went wide. Her smile froze, then cracked, then disappeared entirely. Mom was holding a coffee cup. Her hand started shaking. Coffee sloshed over the rim, splashing onto the conference table. Dad looked at me like I was a ghost, like I'd risen from the dead just to haunt him. His face went pale. Actually pale. Aunt Laura made a small gasping sound. I didn't say anything, didn't smile, didn't cry, didn't explain. I just walked to the empty chair directly across from my parents. Pulled it out. The legs scraped against the floor, loud in the silence. Sat down, folded my hands on the table, and waited. Madison found her voice first. "Emma, what are you doing here?" I didn't answer, just looked at her. "You weren't invited. This is a private family meeting," Mr. Harrington cut in smoothly. "Actually, Ms. Madison, Emma Chen is listed as a primary beneficiary on your parents' original will. Under California law, she has every right to be present for this reading." Mum leaned forward. "Emma, honey, you don't need to be here. This doesn't concern you." I spoke for the first time. My voice was quiet but steady. "Doesn't it?" "We've moved on," Dad said. His voice had that edge to it, the one that meant he was about to lose his temper. "You made it clear you didn't want to be part of this family anymore, so why are you here now?" "I made it clear?" I let out a small, humorless laugh. "Dad, I haven't heard from you in 10 months. Not since you didn't tell me you were in the hospital. Not since Madison made sure I wasn't on your visitor list." Madison's face flushed red. That was a misunderstanding. Was my wedding invitation a misunderstanding too, or Thanksgiving, or every single family event for the past 3 years? "You stopped coming," Mum's voice was rising, getting shrill. "You cut us off." "I stopped reaching out because nobody reached back." The room went quiet again. Mr. Harrington cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should proceed with the will reading." He opened his laptop, pulled up documents. On February 8th, 2025, Richard and Susan Chen drafted a new will. In this document, all assets, including the family home in Palo Alto, valued at $3.2 million, retirement accounts totaling $850,000, business shares in Chen and Associates valued at $1.5 million, and various savings and investment accounts totaling $420,000 are to be transferred solely to Madison Chen. Madison smiled. It was smug, victorious. Mum reached over and squeezed Madison's hand. Aunt Laura beamed. "Congratulations, sweetie." "You deserve it." I sat perfectly still, watching them, watching their triumph. Mr. Harrington continued. However, that one word changed everything. Madison's smile faltered. However what? However, there's a legal issue. The original will, drafted in 2010, lists both Emma and Madison as equal beneficiaries. Under California Probate Code, Section 21310, when a will is substantially modified, all original beneficiaries must be notified in writing. They must be given at least 15 days to review the changes. He looked directly at my parents. Mr. and Mrs. Chen, did you provide written notification to Emma about these changes? Dad shifted in his seat. We didn't think it was necessary. Emma made it clear she didn't want anything to do with us. That's not what I asked. Did you provide written notification? Yes or no? Silence. The answer is no, Mr. Harrington said, which means under California law, the 2025 will is invalid. The legal document is the 2010 version, which splits all assets equally between both daughters. The room exploded. Madison shot to her feet. What? That's ridiculous. They just signed everything over to me. You witnessed it. I witnessed them signing a document. That doesn't make the document legally binding. Mum turned on me, eyes blazing. You did this. You planned this. You came here to sabotage us. I didn't do anything, I said calmly. I just existed, which apparently was the problem all along. This is insane. Madison was pacing now, her voice getting louder. Dad, Mum, tell him. Tell him you want me to have everything. What we want isn't the issue, Mr. Harrington said. The law is clear. Emma was never notified. She never waived her rights. The original will stands. Dad stood up, hands flat on the table. Emma, if this is about money, just say so. We'll write you a check, name your price, but don't do this to your sister. And there it was. After everything, they still thought I was the problem. I stood up too, looked my father in the eyes. This isn't about money, Dad. This is about you trying to erase me, to write me out of existence, and I'm here to tell you, you can't. We gave you everything. Mom was crying now. Not sad tears, angry tears. We raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head, and this is how you repay us? You gave Madison everything. You gave me the leftovers, and you convinced yourselves that was enough. Mr. Harrington pulled out a folder. I took the liberty of doing some research into the family history. Would you like me to present it? He didn't wait for an answer. He opened the folder and began reading. 2015, Emma Chen signs over her entire inheritance from her grandmother, valued at $180,000, to Madison Chen. Madison looked down. 2016 through 2023, Emma sends approximately $5,000 annually to help fund Madison's nail salon business. Total, $40,000. Mum's crying stopped. November 2023, Madison Chen gets married. Emma Chen is not invited. Guest count, 187. December 2024, Richard Chen is hospitalized. Emma Chen's name is not included on the ICU visitor list, despite her being his daughter. Mr. Harrington looked up from the folder. So, please, explain to me. Who abandoned whom? Nobody answered. The silence was deafening. The silence in that conference room felt like it had weight, like it was pressing down on all of us, making it hard to breathe. Madison was the first to break. She collapsed back into her chair, face in her hands. This isn't fair. This isn't fair. Fair? The word came out of me sharp, sharper than I intended. You want to talk about fair, Madison? She looked up at me, mascara starting to run. You don't understand. I need this money. Derek and I are trying to buy a house. We have plans. I needed a family. I had plans too, but nobody cared about those. Derek, who'd been silent this entire time, finally spoke up. Maybe we should all take a breath here, get some perspective. Perspective? I turned to him. Did you know your wife didn't invite me to your wedding? Did she tell you that her sister, her only sister, wasn't even worth a seat in the back row? He looked at Madison. She looked away. I thought you couldn't make it, he said quietly. Madison told me you were travelling for work. I was home, 43 miles away, eating takeout and watching Netflix. Mum stood up abruptly, her chair scraping back. Enough of this. Emma, you've made your point. You're angry. We get it. But this is cruel. This is vindictive. This isn't the daughter I raised. Something inside me snapped. You're right. This isn't the daughter you raised, because you didn't raise me, you fed me, you housed me, but you didn't raise me. You didn't see me. You didn't love me. You just tolerated me until even that was too much effort. That's not true, Dad said, but his voice had no conviction, like he was reading lines from a script he didn't believe. Then prove it. Tell me one thing about me. One thing, not my job title. You could find that on LinkedIn. Tell me something real, something that shows you actually know who I am. Dad opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Mom. Mom looked at Madison. Madison stared at the table. Nobody said anything. That's what I thought. Mr. Harrington cleared his throat gently. Mr. and Mrs. Chen, I need to inform you that Emma has the right to contest this will. She has the right to demand the original terms be upheld. And given that you failed to follow proper legal procedures, she would almost certainly win. So what do you want? Dad's voice was hard now, defensive. You want half? Fine, take half, but don't pretend this is about anything other than money. I want you to say you were wrong. The words hung in the air. I want you to say, we were wrong. We treated you unfairly. We hurt you and we're sorry. No excuses, no justifications, no, but you did this, or we thought that, just we were wrong. Mum and Dad looked at each other. Some silent conversation happening between them that I couldn't read. Then Dad said, we did what we thought was best for the family. That's not what I asked for. Madison needed more support. You were always so independent, so capable. We thought, stop, just stop. I grabbed my purse. You can't even do this one thing. You can't even give me this. I looked at Mr. Harrington. What happens now? You have several options. You can agree to the new will terms and walk away with nothing. You can demand the original will be upheld and claim your 50%. Or, he paused, you can contest the entire will, which would trigger a lengthy legal process that would likely freeze all assets for months, possibly years. Madison's head snapped up. You wouldn't. I looked at her, really looked at her, this woman who'd taken everything from me and never once felt guilty, who'd let me be erased and never questioned it, who was sitting here even now thinking only about what she was losing, not what I'd lost. No, I said quietly, I wouldn't. Because unlike you, I don't want to hurt people. I just want to stop being hurt. I turned to Mr. Harrington. I want the original will enforced, 50-50 split, everything divided equally, as it should have been all along. Emma, please. Mum reached for my arm. I stepped back. Don't touch me. Don't call me. Don't send Madison to try to guilt me into changing my mind. I'm done. You can't be serious. Aunt Laura spoke up for the first time since the reading started. You'd really tear this family apart over money? This family tore itself apart a long time ago. I'm just finally admitting it. I walked to the door, hand on the handle, then stopped. You know what the saddest part is? If you just loved me even a little bit, I would have given you anything, everything. I did give you everything for years, but it was never enough. Because the problem wasn't what I gave. The problem was that I existed at all. I opened the door. Goodbye. I walked out, down the hall, into the elevator, out to the street, and for the first time in 34 years, I felt free. The next 2 days were quiet, eerily quiet. I went to work, attended meetings, reviewed marketing campaigns, responded to emails, but my mind was somewhere else entirely. I kept expecting my phone to ring, for Mum to call, for Madison to text, for someone, anyone to reach out. Nothing. On the 3rd day, my phone finally rang. Madison. I stared at the screen for 10 seconds before answering. What? Emma. Her voice was small, shaky. Can we talk, please? We have nothing to talk about. Please just give me 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and if you still want to hang up, I'll never bother you again. I sat down on my couch, looked out at the city lights starting to come on as dusk fell. Fine, 5 minutes. Thank you. She took a shaky breath. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Emma. I didn't realise how bad things had gotten. I didn't realise Mum and Dad were treating you so differently. I swear I thought you just didn't want to be around us anymore. You didn't ask why. I know, I should have. I should have questioned it. But it was easier not to. Easier to just accept what they said, that you'd changed, that you'd moved on. I did move on, Madison, because I had to, because staying meant accepting that I would always be less than, always be the afterthought, the backup plan, the one who didn't matter. You matter to me, I laughed. It wasn't a kind sound. Do I? Really? When was the last time you called me just to talk? When was the last time you remembered my birthday without Facebook reminding you? When was the last time you thought about me at all when you didn't need something? Silence. That's what I thought. Emma, please, we're sisters. We're family. Doesn't that mean anything? It should. It should mean everything, but you turned it into nothing. You and Mum and Dad. You took something that should have been unconditional and made it transactional. And I was always on the losing end of that transaction. So what do we do now? Nothing. We do nothing. You live your life. I live mine. We split the estate according to the law. And then we go our separate ways. I don't want that. Well, Madison, for the first time in our lives, what you want doesn't matter more than what I need. What do you need? The question caught me off guard. Nobody in my family had ever asked me that. Not once. I need space. I need time. I need to stop hoping that you'll suddenly become the family I always wanted. Because you won't. You can't. That's not who any of you are. What if we could change? What if we could be different? Then you should do that for yourselves, for your own growth, but not for me. Don't do it for me. Because I'm not waiting anymore. Emma, your 5 minutes are up. I hung up. The phone immediately rang again. I declined the call. It rang again. I turned it off. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my balcony. The fog was rolling in from the bay, turning the city into something ethereal and dreamlike. My phone was off, so I didn't know if Madison called again, if Mom texted, if Dad sent an email, and I realised I didn't care. For years I'd been waiting for them to choose me, to see me, to fight for me the way I'd always fought for them. But they never would, and I was tired of waiting. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop fighting. Stop hoping. Stop giving pieces of yourself to people who will never appreciate them. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. The following week brought something I didn't expect. My parents showed up at my apartment. I came home from work at 6:30 p.m., exhausted from back-to-back meetings, and found them sitting in their car in front of my building. I saw them before they saw me. Mom in the passenger seat, staring straight ahead. Dad gripping the steering wheel even though the car was off. I could have turned around, gone to a coffee shop, waited them out, but I was done hiding. I walked straight to their car, knocked on Dad's window. He jumped, looked at me. For a moment, we just stared at each other through the glass. Then he rolled down the window. "Emma, we need to talk." "No, you need to leave." "Please." Mum leaned over from the passenger seat. "Just give us a few minutes. That's all we're asking. You drove all the way from Palo Alto. You can drive back." I turned to walk to my building. "We're sorry." Mum's voice stopped me. I turned back. She was getting out of the car now, Dad following. They stood on the sidewalk, looking older than I remembered, smaller somehow. "We're sorry," Mum said again. Her eyes were red. "We're sorry for how we treated you, for making you feel invisible, for choosing Madison over you again and again." The words should have felt good, should have felt like vindication, like victory. Instead, they felt empty. "Why now?" I asked. "Why are you sorry now? Because the lawyer said you have to split the money? Because you realized you can't legally erase me?" "No," Dad said, "because we spent the last week really thinking about what you said, about how we've treated you, and we realized you were right. Congratulations on your epiphany. I'm sure it was very profound, but I don't care. Emma, please, do you know what I wanted? When I was 8 years old, getting a used colouring book for my birthday? I wanted you to see my face fall and feel bad. I wanted you to realise you'd hurt me. I wanted you to say, wait, that's not right, and give me something that showed you'd thought about me at all." My voice was rising, but I couldn't stop it. When I was 16, with that Stanford acceptance letter, I wanted you to be proud. I wanted you to hug me and cry and tell me I was amazing. I wanted 5 minutes where I was the important one, where I mattered more than Madison's nail salon, or Madison's feelings, or Madison's needs. We know when Grandma died, I wanted you to let me grieve without turning it into another way I had to sacrifice for Madison. I wanted you to say, no, this is yours. You deserve this. I wanted you to choose me just once, just one time, choose me. Tears were streaming down my face now, but I didn't care. But you never did. Not once, not one single time in 34 years did you choose me. And now you show up here, say you're sorry, and expect what? Forgiveness? Reconciliation? A happy ending? "We want to make things right," Mum said. "You can't. Some things can't be fixed. Some damage is permanent." "So that's it?" Dad's voice was rough. Angry, maybe, or maybe just hurt. "You're just going to cut us out forever? Throw away your whole family?" I'm not throwing anything away. You threw me away years ago. I'm just finally accepting it. We're your parents. Biologically, yes. But parents are supposed to protect you, support you, love you unconditionally. You did none of those things. You loved me conditionally. And the condition was, be less than Madison. Always be less. And when I couldn't do that anymore, when I couldn't keep making myself smaller to make her seem bigger, you chose her. That's not fair, Mom said. No, it's not. None of this is fair. But it's true. We stood there on the sidewalk, 3 people connected by blood but separated by years of neglect and hurt and choices that couldn't be undone. What do you want from us? Dad asked finally. What can we do? Nothing. There's nothing you can do. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The time for doing something was years ago, decades ago. Every time you gave Madison the better gift and me the scraps. Every time you funded her dreams and told me to be more independent. Every time you celebrated her and ignored me. Those were the moments when you could have done something, but you didn't. And now it's too late. It's never too late, Mom said, but she didn't sound convinced. Yes, it is, because I don't want your love anymore. I don't want your approval or your attention or your apologies. I just want you to leave me alone. Emma, please just go. They stood there for another moment. Then Dad nodded slowly. He took Mom's hand, led her back to the car. Before getting in, Mom turned back one more time. I do love you. I know you don't believe me, but I do. I didn't answer. What could I say? That I believed her? I didn't. That I loved her too? I wasn't sure anymore. Love requires trust, requires safety, and I'd never felt safe with them. They drove away. I went upstairs to my apartment, locked the door, slid down against it and sat on the floor. And I cried. Not because I'd lost my family, I'd lost them a long time ago, but because I'd finally admitted it. Finally stopped pretending there was anything left to save. Grief is a strange thing. You can grieve something that never existed. Grieve the parents you should have had, the childhood you deserved, the family that could have been. I grieved all of it that night, and then, slowly, I let it go. A month passed. Mr. Harrington handled all the legal details. The estate was divided exactly 50-50, just as the original will stipulated. The house in Palo Alto was sold. Neither Madison nor I wanted to keep it. Too many bad memories. The money from the sale, plus all the other assets, was split down the middle. My portion came to just under $3 million. It was more money than I'd ever had, more than I needed, more than I knew what to do with. Madison took her portion and bought that house she wanted. I saw it on Facebook. She still posted constantly, and I still checked sometimes. Some masochistic habit I couldn't quite break. 4 bedrooms, pool in the backyard, mountain views. She looked happy in the photos. I was glad for her. Not bitter, not anymore. Just distant, like watching a stranger's life. My parents downsized, moved from Palo Alto to a condo in San Jose, smaller, cheaper, easier to maintain. They'd used most of their liquid savings to supplement Madison's share. She'd convinced them to loan her money before the will was executed, knowing it would be harder for them to say no later. Classic Madison. I donated half my inheritance to start a foundation, the Unseen Children Foundation. It provides full college scholarships to students who'd been overlooked in their families. The golden child's shadow. the kids who raised themselves while their siblings got all the attention and resources. Every year, we fund 20 full-ride scholarships: room, board, tuition, books, everything. The first scholarship went to a girl named Sophie, 17 years old, 4.0 GPA, accepted to MIT. Her parents had spent the last 4 years paying for her brother's lacrosse training and elite sports camps. When she got her acceptance letter, they told her they couldn't afford to help with college. She'd have to take loans or go to community college. When we called to tell her she'd received our scholarship, she cried so hard she couldn't speak for 5 minutes. "Thank you," she finally managed. "Thank you for seeing me." That's when I knew I'd done the right thing. The foundation became my purpose, my family, my legacy. I still work at the tech company. I love my job, love the creative challenges, the brilliant people I work with. But 3 nights a week, I volunteer for the foundation. I interview scholarship candidates. I mentor students. I show up to their graduations and watch them walk across those stages, knowing they did it without family support, knowing they did it alone, like I did. And every time I see one of those kids succeed, get their degree, land their dream job, build the life they deserve, I feel something I never felt with my biological family: pride, connection, love, the unconditional kind, the kind that doesn't keep score or make comparisons, the kind that celebrates success without diminishing anyone else. The kind I always wanted and never had. Madison still texts sometimes, birthday wishes, holiday greetings, always surface level. Always careful not to go too deep, I respond politely. Thank you. Happy holidays to you too. Nothing more. She's asked to meet up a few times, coffee, lunch, just to talk. I've declined every time, not to be cruel. Just because I don't want to. I don't need closure. I don't need to hear more apologies or explanations. I don't need to give her forgiveness she hasn't earned. I just need her to not be in my life, and that's okay. My parents, I haven't heard from at all. Not since that night on the sidewalk. Maybe they finally understood. Maybe they gave up. Maybe they convinced themselves I'm the villain in this story, the ungrateful daughter who chose money over family. I don't know. And I don't care. Last month, one of our scholarship recipients, a girl named Jasmine, who's now a senior at Berkeley, sent me a message. I wanted to thank you again for the scholarship. But more than that, I wanted to thank you for teaching me something important. We don't owe our families our pain. We don't have to keep breaking ourselves apart to make them comfortable. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is walk away. I read that message 3 times. Then I wrote back, "You're going to be okay. More than okay. You're going to be extraordinary. And you're going to do it on your own terms." She replied with a simple heart emoji. It was enough. Last week I was at the grocery store, Trader Joe's on 4th Street, buying my usual wine and frozen dumplings. When I saw them, my parents, in the produce section, debating which apples to buy. My heart jumped into my throat. Fight or flight kicked in. Every instinct screamed at me to abandon my car and leave, but I didn't. I grabbed my apples, Honeycrisp, which Dad always hated, and walked right past them. Mum saw me first. Her hand flew to Dad's arm, gripping tight. "Emma!" I stopped, turned, looked at them. They looked older, tired. Dad's hair had gone completely grey. Mom had new lines around her eyes. "Hi." That was all I said, just hi. "How are you?" Mum asked, like we were acquaintances catching up, not mother and daughter navigating years of trauma. "I'm well. You? We're okay. We heard about your foundation. That's wonderful. Really wonderful. Thank you. Awkward silence, the kind that used to terrify me, make me scramble to fill it with chatter or apologies or desperate attempts to connect. Now I just stood there, waiting. We think about you, Dad said. A lot. Okay. Do you ever think about us? The question caught me off guard, honest, vulnerable, more real than anything he'd said to me in years. I could have lied, could have said no, could have hurt him the way he'd hurt me, but I didn't. Sometimes, less and less, though. He nodded, like he'd expected that, like he knew that was what he deserved. We should let you get back to your shopping, Mum said. Yeah, take care of yourselves. I walked away, got in line, paid, loaded my groceries into my car, and I felt nothing, not anger, not sadness, not longing, just nothing. It was over, really, truly over. I drove home, put away the groceries, poured a glass of wine, and sat on my balcony as the sun set over the bay. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophie, our first scholarship recipient, now a junior at MIT. Just wanted to let you know I got accepted to the graduate program, full funding. I couldn't have done any of this without you. Thank you for believing in me when nobody else did. I smiled. Typed back, I always believed in you. But more importantly, you believed in yourself. That's the part that matters. 3 dots appeared then. Did you have someone who believed in you? I thought about that. Thought about Grandma Rose, who'd loved me but died too soon. Thought about Mr. Harrington, who'd given me the tools to claim what was mine. Thought about all the years I spent believing nobody saw me, nobody cared. But mostly I thought about myself, about the decision to show up to that will reading, about the choice to walk away from people who would never change, about the foundation I'd built and the lives I'd touched, and the person I'd become despite, or maybe because of, my family's neglect. Yeah, I typed, I did, me, I believed in me. Her response came instantly, that's the best kind. I set down my phone and looked out at the city. Lights twinkling as darkness fell, fog rolling in like a soft blanket, the distant sound of foghorns from the bay. Somewhere out there, Madison was posting pictures of her perfect house, her perfect husband, her perfect life, purchased with money she'd tried to take entirely for herself. Somewhere out there, my parents were going to bed in their smaller condo, maybe feeling guilty, maybe not, maybe missing me, maybe relieved I was gone. I didn't know, and it didn't matter, because I was here, in my apartment with the view I'd worked for, with a glass of wine I'd bought myself, with a foundation that bore my pain and transformed it into opportunity for others. I was here, alive, free, whole, not despite being unseen by my family, but because I'd finally learned to see myself. Have you ever felt like you didn't exist in your own family? Like you could disappear and nobody would notice? Like you were there but not really there? If you have, I want you to know something. You're not invisible. Not really. Not to the people who matter, not to the people who choose to see you, and most importantly, not to yourself. My family tried to erase me. They tried to write me out of their story, their will, their lives. They tried to convince me I was less than, not enough, not worth remembering, but they failed, because I'm still here, still standing, still building a life that matters, not because they finally saw me, but because I finally saw myself. And that That right there, that's the only validation I'll ever need. This is Emma signing off. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched you, if it helped you feel less alone, if it gave you permission to walk away from people who don't value you, then it was worth telling. Remember, you don't owe anyone your pain, not your parents, not your siblings, not anyone. You deserve to be seen, to be loved, to take up space without apologizing for it. And if the people in your life can't give you that, then give it to yourself. It's the most important gift you'll ever receive.